Welcome, everyone. This is your host, Rashawn Warren. Welcome to CIME. Today, we got another special guest, Josh Kramer. And we're going to talk about Confidence Chronicles, about sharing personal stories of building confidence in midlife. Let's go. Hey, welcome, everyone. This is your host, Rashawn Warren. And my buddy, Josh Kramer. Hey, Josh, hey, thanks for being on the show today. I really want to really delve deep into what's going on in your life and talk a little bit about confidence and the way people within midlife are handling it. And I know you from college. We were both Division I athletes at Kent State University. We had some battles. We fought it out.
Non-stop.
Yeah, nonstop. But I tell you, you pushed me to the limit because I couldn't let you embarrass me out there.
I'll tell you
But
what, I've never had to work harder against anyone in my life. And that's one of my favorite things is when you find somebody else that'll push as hard as you do. So it was, man, those are some good memories, man.
I remember doing the basketball rebounding drill once. You know, the one where you had to shoot and we had to. There was a thing on the rim and you had to run in, and we crashed into the bleachers. And coach was like, "What the hell is going on
Yep.
here?"
I didn't hear no
Oh man,
whistle.
I'm getting the ball. I'm not letting Josh bully me around. The crazy thing about that drill, right? I remember going down the drill once, and Kyron was matched up with you, and he saw that you were in the other line, and he was like, "Hey, Ray, let's switch." I was like, "Oh man!" I said, "Oh, Josh over there. Oh man, here we go."
Come
Hey,
on, I'm a nice guy. I'm a big teddy bear.
well, you're big, and you're like a teddy bear, but you could turn into a grizzly bear.
Yeah.
Um,
And when
so
you flip
so
that switch.
now that we're on the show, I want to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself and let the people out there kind of know who you are, where you at right now, and the type of things you're doing.
Now I'm just working my tail off professionally and personally. I'm currently a firefighter, an aircraft rescue firefighter with the city of Dayton, and I'm also a crew lead and the training officer with them. Develop training curriculums and make sure that we are in compliance with the FAA, as well as the DCMA, which is defense contractors. And I'm also in charge of running command on any emergency scene, things like that. And that's on the professional side. As far as personally, I'm a husband, father. Got a 10-year-old boy who it's a riot. Coach him in lacrosse, which I'm telling you, if we would have had the chance to play lacrosse, we might have picked a different sport than basketball. And other than that, I work with a couple nonprofits. I do some graphic design with them, and I do outreach programs out in the public with them, and that's about it on my front.
Yeah, man, you seem super duper busy. You got a lot going on, and I know family can be a big focus for all of us, which it should be. We should
Yeah.
be able to put our family out there and start to dovetail off of that. But when I think about the show and I think about confidence, I do think about you. That's why the task that I had for you was like, hey, let's talk about this because when I remember you, when I first met you in college, I remember you as this imposing individual who was in the gym all the time, who's lifting weights heavy, but was always happy. Well, seemingly always happy. And then over the years, after we transitioned and we started going our different paths in life, I remember seeing a photo of you on Facebook, and you were kind of like hefty a little bit. You didn't look the same as I remembered you. And I was talking about drinking some protein once, and you wrote me something and was like, "Hey, got all this iron and stuff in it. Be careful with all that." And you were giving me all this advice. And then I saw a photo of you again, and you had totally transformed who you were from the healthy guy back into this rip cut athlete that we see today, even though you had a bunch of surgeries, but you've been able to hold your body together. And I'll always just kind of wonder, like, well, what type of things were you going through, when you kind of like got out of shape, kind of in the middle part of your life, and what made you say, man, I got to get back into the game?
Yeah, there was so when we played ball together, I was coming in about 6'5", 260, but athletic, and like you said, I was lifting heavy a lot and whatnot. And then I wasn't screwing up as much, so Coach Waters wasn't making me run lines, so I was starting to pack on a few pounds. wasn't doing the same. And there was also a lot of transition in life. That was my early 30s, and there's the typical things like not eating as well, and maybe not exercising as much. But there was a lot of other stuff too. I gotten out of a relationship, and some things changed there. I had changed career paths. I used to be a bar manager that transferred all around the country, and kept bad hours because just that's the nature of the business. You're working till 3, 4 in the morning, and then after a while, I met my wife when we first started dating, and we got along so well. You added into that, I got comfortable, and things started to slow down even more. And getting into the fire service, we were keeping weird hours with that, and I got up to upwards of about 350 pounds, and so that's how I know my wife really loves me. So she loved me at 350, but she loves me now at 225. So, but that was kind of the moment where I saw a lot. You're one of my biggest influences in life. You're one of my best friends, but you're also a huge influence on me. And I saw the relationship you had with your son. And Jillian and I had started talking about having a kid, and I knew it was time to step it up. And because I wanted to have that kind of active relationship with my son where we're playing sports together, we're being competitive, I'm pushing him to be his best. And that was a real driving force for me to get it in gear, to eat right, to sleep right, to take care of myself physically and more importantly, mentally. And that went a long, long way. And I remember reaching out to you. You were overseas, you were on deployment, and you had said nobody would work out with you over there because you did all these crazy workouts. And I was like, let's go. So I got you. I'll help you out. And I mean, we started doing that. Pounds started flying off. Like, I think I dropped over 100 pounds in the first year. And that was almost 10 years ago. My son was born when I was 35. So, and here we are today. I got down to 227, and I'm 225 right now as I sit here. So,
oh man, that's great. Like the motivation, the things that you want to do in life. And we'll get into it as far as how the confidence waned about, hey, you were right here at one point, and then you were right here in the middle, and then you had to press forward. You had to become a better version of yourself.
yep.
And after this commercial break, I kind of want to talk to you a little bit about how you felt getting into things and whether or not your confidence ever wavered. So before we go to commercial break, I want to let everyone know again, we have Josh Kramer with us today. And now we're going to go to commercial break, and we'll get right back into the game.
Hey, it's AC of AC Sports Live, an interactive sports talk show where your comments are part of the show. Every show we focus on the sports stories of today with commentary on sports takes, My 2 Cents, which is a reaction to my social media feed, Sports Flicks, where we take a look at sports movies and give a quick review. We have a segment called Mental Reps, where we have words of inspiration to help battle the dark side of men's mental health. And then there's the Tender Love Report. Who's being soft or petty in the world of sports? All takes are welcome under one condition. Say it with your chest. I'll see you there.
All right, we're back in the game. So we talked a little bit about confidence and how you transition and how the way you see the world as you relate to how your kid, your spouse, the things that you're doing. Obviously, they're helping other people because you're out there putting your life on the line too. Sometimes I think we do kind of get lost in the fact that we're doing so much stuff for other people, and then it kind of drags us down. Well, I don't want to say drag us down, but it could affect the way that we do things. So as you've been going through life and you've been experiencing all this new stuff, a new family, a new body, a new job, has that affected your level of confidence in a way, or pick yourself up or took yourself down?
There's always there's ups and there's downs, but there's an old saying that you've made it through 100% of the days that up to this point, and that to me is just, you have to keep plugging, you have to keep moving, and it doesn't mean things are always going to go your way, and sometimes the things are blessing in disguises. I changing careers, moving here and there. What might seem as a challenge, a lot of times it's just an opportunity, and that, knowing that you've put in the preparation for that, helps you know that no matter how big the challenge is, you come out successful on the other side. And the key is to just keep moving, because when you start to dwell, when you start to get down in a hole, they call it that downward spiral. And when you start to dwell there, it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. And then things that might not be a big deal become bigger and bigger. And it works the other way too. So when you start changing your mindset of, okay, I can do this, and then you start putting in the effort, make a plan, stick to that plan, see that plan through, well, then now it may have seemed small, and it's getting bigger, that like, oh man, I've come a long way from back here where I started. And it just has that spiraling effect of, it's just a matter of getting the mindset of which direction you want to take it.
Yeah, and I totally understand that too. There's been many times that I've been down and I haven't been feeling good about who I was. I shared a story with some people a long time ago that I was like, hey, for the majority of my life, I didn't like myself. I was running around smiling and happy, and I was doing all this stuff, but I wasn't in love with who I was. And I think it was because of the level of confidence that I had. But I spent a lot of time helping other people and trying to do other stuff for people. Then one day I had this epiphany, like, man, Ray, you're gonna have to do it. And the bright part that I have, which is kind of the same as you, is my family. Like, yeah. I'm telling you, my son, I wanted to be the super example for him because I grew up without my dad. So I'm trying to balance this stuff. And so when you start, as you're going through stuff, you're being an example, you're being confident for your kid, you're being confident for your spouse, and now you got to be confident for the people that you're leading. So what type of challenges do you face, or if you even face any challenges when you're trying to make sure that you're up where you need to be, people see that you're ready to go, in order for them to follow you, all the way from the little one to your equal to the people that are following you at work?
Yeah, the easiest thing is, well, I don't want to say easy, but the easiest thing to identify is with the little ones, because they're a mere reflection. So you know me, you can attest to this. So I'll admit it. I never get angry with people. I'm very patient. I get angry with things though. My temper when it comes to what I demand for myself, or just dealing with technology, something as simple as that, it drives me nuts and I can lose my temper. But when you're being a leader for someone else, and you are trying, like, for example, trying to lead my son, he's a mere reflection of me. And if I'm being that bad example, I'm going to see that same behavior in him. So it pushes you to set a higher standard for yourself of your behavior. Same thing with leadership, like let's say in the fire department. When you are confident and you know your job, you've done your training, you've done your due diligence, you've made plan, you've planned ahead, you've been proactive, you can lead with confidence because you have put in the effort. Whereas if you're ill prepared or unsure of yourself or question yourself or wishy-washy on decisions, nobody's going to follow you. Nobody's
Yeah,
going to trust, and what's worse is they're not going to trust you. And like I said, that goes if you're inconsistent with your kid, or if you're inconsistent with your peers at work, or anybody in your family, friend circle. If you flip-flop all the time, nobody's going to know when to trust you, when you're being real, when you're being not, and when you know what you're talking about or otherwise.
yeah, that's true, right? In the army, we say the bedrock of the army is trust. And I believe that's for all organizations, but we all want a confident leader. We all
Yeah.
want somebody who believes in themselves or that we can follow. And for some of the youngsters, who we can be like. I saw you wrote a book, right? To me, hey, a confident person is going to get out there and write a book, right?
Yeah.
Because you're confident about the ideas, because you're putting it out there for all people to see. That's a part of confidence. So when you wrote your book, what made you write that book?
So I was sitting around and things were ugly. People were being ugly to each other, and I don't like that. I've tried to treat every person I've ever encountered as family. I'm a big hugger, and I'm an open door. And things got real ugly. I didn't like it. I didn't like how people were treated, just people in general, and people that were close to me, and people that I didn't even know. And I wanted to think of a day that the last time I didn't feel like that. And it's very weird that what popped in my head was the day after 9/11. And so that book is actually about September 12th, 2001. And one of the lines in it that it always sticks out to me is it's kind of a Dr. Seuss book. It's kind of a rhymey book that sounds like Dr. Seuss, but it's for adults. And one of the lines says, "I can't comprehend why it should be that to become unified it takes tragedy." And it's just I wanted to put out an example of it's in us innately that everyone the day after was trying to help each other out and banding together and like, hey, we're in this, how can I help, and being a shoulder to cry on, being a shoulder to lean on. And it just came inherently. Nobody had to take a class, nobody had to learn how to do that. We were just being the best versions of ourselves for a hot minute. And I wanted to write that, put that out there to remind people that it's in us. We can do that every day.
Yeah, and I take this and I say, tying it back in, being a good person. You know, confidence breeds happiness, I believe. Some
Yep.
people would say, I would say a happy soldier is a productive soldier, but I would also say a happy individual is a productive individual because they feel good about themselves. But there's different types of confidence though when you start to think about it. And from your perspective, how do you differentiate between like what people would perceive as genuine confidence and that external validation? So how do you see that genuine confidence or people seeking external validation?
So there's nothing wrong with people validating and giving you kudos and whatnot. But taking that humbly is important because you may have done something well and it might have been a total accident. And then when you start to believe that, oh, well, it'll just come, that's when the ego builds. And to me, ego is the enemy. It's a great book if you haven't got a chance to read it, but it is. Whereas genuine confidence to me comes from knowing that you've built a foundation and that you have put in effort and you've stuck to a plan and you've executed it. And when there was hiccups along the way, you were able to adapt and overcome. That to me is genuine confidence, whereas external validation is just somebody like, hey, nice job, you did it, and then you start believing your own press.
Oh yeah, yeah. I totally understand where you're going with that. You know, the ego, the ego. There's this book called "The Mountain Is You," and in that book, it talks about external sabotage. You know, like how we sabotage ourselves. So I totally tied into what you're saying, and I think we just need to take heed to the things that we're doing every day and how we're trying to help people, how we build ourselves, but then also take a look and see if like we're really looking for something outside of who we are. That may be a lack of confidence, and we need other people to tell us that we're doing good in order for us to move forward. So
Yeah.
we're going to take a quick commercial break, Josh, and then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about a little bit about failure, any failures in your life, and how it played a part in shaping your confidence. So we'll go straight to commercial break.
Focus, focus up. Hey man, zoom in. Welcome. My name is Chris Rubio of the Rubio Method. Soak it in. Wear it as a nice sweatshirt, a nice yellow sweatshirt. See if it fits. And it may be something you say, okay, I'm listening to you, but I don't really like it. Not for me. What the hell are you thinking? You have no idea what you're talking about. You have issues because of your bad taste.
All right, so we are back. So, all right. So before we went to commercial break, we talked a little bit about confidence in ourselves, external confidence, genuine confidence. But I also understand that failure plays a role in our lives. Also, failure sometimes can break us down, or failure can help build us back up. So, what I want to ask you, Josh, through all the things that you kind of been through and growing up to this point of who you are today, like, are there any instances that which failure has shaped you and which made you stronger or kind of tore you down a little bit and made you want to get back up?
Yeah, well, my body has failed me plenty of times. I've had I don't know if we got enough time to list the injuries and surgeries and all that fun stuff, but there's been plenty of times that let's see, I've ruptured my ACL, MCL, PCL twice. Each of those ruptured biceps tendon, fell out a third-story window, ruptured my pec, got I got more stitches and sutures and cauterized arteries. And well, that brings me to another one. I think you were there when I went through the window at the rec center.
Oh yeah.
That was a big failure, and not my body failing me, but my behavior failing me, and letting my temper go too much. And that through all the injuries and through that instance I'm speaking of, it could have been easy to quit and not get back, just use it as a crutch and as an excuse to not try and get back to better than what I was before. I spent a year on crutches. I wasn't able to walk for an entire year because of what I did to my knee my first time when I was 14 years old. And it's pretty tough for a 14 and 15-year-old kid not be able to walk. And now, great upper body workout, but it's taxing mentally to not be able to do the things with your friends. I was in an immobilizer, an brace, and couldn't get in and out of the car. So couldn't go anywhere with my friends. I had to sit with my legs straight out because I tore it up so bad. And that was after my first year of basketball I'd ever played. I'd never played before. And it was my sophomore year in high school. And sat out the whole season and came back. Played my junior year, ended up playing my senior year. We ended up making it into the top 10 in the USA Today, largely because our other old teammate, Nate Mears, and shooting the lights out. But it was something that I had the mindset that I got to be better than I was before. I can't, if I start this pattern now where I'm using things as an excuse, that's only going to go on throughout the rest of my life. And Then again, I ruptured my bicep. I think it was 2 weeks after my son was born. Couldn't hold my kid. Couldn't change diapers. I was strapped up in a brace after the surgery. And then again, when he was 3 years old, starting to run around, that's when I fell out a window during fire training, ruptured my pec, and had to come back better. Whereas I could have just rest idly by and said, yeah, life happens and that's it. But I think it's more beneficial to you in the long run is if you're able to point back to examples of when you picked yourself up when you were down, whether it be physically or mentally, when you kept moving, kept pressing, kept demanding more of yourself.
Yeah, I think that ties back into what you said earlier. I believe the quote was, "You have survived 100% of your worst days," right?
Yep.
So, in essence, what you did in order to keep you moving forward in your midlife, you just drew back on those times, like, you know what, it wasn't going well then, and
Yep.
I made it here.
Yep.
Like when you mentioned that, and I was there that day. I actually watched it happen. When you punched through the window because you say you lost control of your temper, you punched through a plexiglass window, actually.
Yeah,
So
it was tempered glass. Yeah, like a car windshield, basically.
glass. Yeah, and I remember all of that blood on the ground.
I don't know if
Oh,
you
yeah.
can see the scars, and they're still there.
Yeah, I remember. I was like, "Oh my God, the dude's never going to be able to move his hand again." But I remember you in a little brace and everything when they take that all up. But you've always been like that tough guy, super nice but super tough. So kind of going back now, when we started talking about you drawing from past experience to make sure where you're at today is you could keep moving forward. But my question to you is, how do you maintain confidence? Like not only confidence in the physical sense, but like you mentioned earlier, also like in navigating through social expectations and the stereotypes of people aging. So how do you stay like, got it? Your body is breaking down, but you're saying I can still keep moving forward. So how do you manage or navigating all that stuff?
Well, it's consistency. So when people have expectations, when I got way out of shape, I didn't get there overnight. And managing my expectations and having the goal be progress, not perfection, and knowing that there's incremental steps along the way. That okay, every day I'm progressing, I'm getting better and better and better. The goal is never perfection, to be honest. Like if you think you've gotten perfect at something or you got all the answers, it's time to get out of that business, get out of that line of work, get out of that position you're in. If you know it all, you have nothing less to offer. So you can always progress and always do better. Now, I'm also someone who will never allow age to be an excuse. I'm a big kid. I'm 45 years old. I still try to act like I'm 22. I can still dunk barely. It's not as pretty, but I will never let it be an excuse. And there's something I tell my son all the time is that I want him to be better at everything than I am. And I want him to beat me in everything that we ever compete in. However, I will never let him win. If he earns it, then he's earned it. And that's all well and good. So and I think that will build him to have that long-term confidence where I have earned where I am instead of getting handed, like letting him win, like, oh, I beat dad. No, you're gonna have to earn. You're gonna have to beat me.
Yeah, and that kind of, I look at that like from you saying, navigating those societal expectations, and as far as we continue to age, you're saying like even in my age where I'm at right now, I'm still being an example to the little one because
Yeah.
I heard this once before, and I'll drop a bunch of quotes here and there. This is kind of who I am. I heard the quotes that whatever your maximum is your child's minimum. Because what your child sees, whatever you accomplish in your age, as you transition through life, whoever you are at the very end is what your child will remember you for being. And
I
your
love that.
child would just think like, I got to get to where dad was at, or I got to get to
Yep.
where mom was at, you know. And then once they reach there, we gave them all the lessons to surpass us,
Yep.
to go on to the next stage. And I think that's what makes us feel good. Not everyone won't experience that though.
Nah.
But that's kind of where it goes back into you saying, hey, I got to be confident in myself. I got to continue to grow. I got to glean or pull from those lessons when I was a youngster, because your kid is doing the same thing. You agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, you're setting that foundation early, and having that to pull from as they age and the things that they go through. It's just giving them the tools to build
Yeah.
their own things. They may take a different path to get there, but having that foundation is fantastic.
Yeah, and we definitely got to stay confident and grow off of our experiences and make sure that our experiences are valid
Yeah.
for the youngsters. But also, you know, as we grow, I know everyone is different. Um, are there any particular mentors or role models that have influenced you on your journey to keep you confident?
So I picked up reading philosophy when I was about 40 years old. I started diving headlong into Stoicism and Greek philosophy. The laughing philosopher Democritus, Epictetus, Epicurus, some of my favorites. And what they say a lot of times is Stoicism is a practice. And as I was saying before, the aim is not perfection. You're gonna screw up, and you're gonna not get it right. And the key is to keep practicing these mindsets, these feelings of confidence, these things, and your thoughts become your feelings, and your feelings become your reality. And so if you can train your mind to think of yourself in the proper way, then you start feeling that way about yourself. When you start feeling it, it shows, and that turns into your reality. Now, if you go the opposite way with it, like I said, there's that downward spiral where if you're constantly thinking negative of yourself, uh, it's going to become your feeling, and that feeling is going to become a reality. So I'm a firm believer in manifesting your own self-image of who you are.
Yeah, manifest destiny. I mean, if you can believe it, you can see it. If you conceive it, you should believe it.
Yeah,
And you know, and I said this all the time, begin with the end in mind. But once you understand whatever you were able to actively visualize, like once you set your mind to it and you start living every day as if you're already that, you'll go to that destination unconsciously. And so as when we start talking about mentors and all that stuff, so you're saying like, hey, I'm in the books. I got some
yeah,
things that are important to me. I got some ways that I'm able to see life, but you're gaining perspective, and that perspective that you're gaining is confidence that you're showing to everyone else. Because some people may not know that you in the books, you putting in the work, you know, you
yeah.
putting a lot of stuff in your mind. And when they see you talk or they hear you talk and feel how confident you are, they don't know that they're getting some of that book that you read too.
Yeah, yeah,
You know?
and everybody learns from everyone's experiences. I mean, I mean it down to the bone that we're all in this together, because whether it's good or bad, we all learn from each other's experiences and each other's journeys and each other's paths, and everything from you and I interacting back to these Greek philosophers. I mean, their experiences are teaching people thousands of years later, and we're taking that and expounding upon that and able to take it even further. And I talk to someone, they teach me what they've learned. Well, then we put one and one together, and all of a sudden, man, it does amazing things to build this whole community of confident individuals.
Oh yeah, share the knowledge, right? So you got all this knowledge, you reading all the books, you working out, you looking great. So tell us, other people like myself who are a little bit older than the rest, What actionable tips do you have for people like me or like people who are older than me to help cultivate and sustain my confidence?
First and foremost, just start. Start. You don't have to, and like I said, the aim is not perfection. And you didn't get, if you're down, if you feel like you failed, you didn't get there in one day. Okay, so just start and keep moving. Surround yourself with people that are going to support you and that you can support them. Because being able to support somebody else, to be able to teach somebody else something, that builds your confidence. And then having that support system with you is amazing. Somebody to push you on top of that. So, like I said, have your support, the people that are going to pick you up when you're down, but also kind of, we were talking about having the ego and the external validation. Don't just have people that are going to hand it to you. It's also have someone there, like, to take it back to the beginning, when you and I were doing those rebounding drills, having somebody to push you and you push them goes even further. And that's where greatness comes. Taking those extra steps towards greatness is just, it's immeasurable.
Yeah, I can tell you, since we're talking about that rebounding drill again, I remember I used to see where you were at. And if I was on the other side of you, I'm going with Josh because I wanted that.
Yeah.
There was something about me. I know he's gonna go hard, and I'm not just gonna be out there. I'm gonna have to push myself. So I was like, hey, let me get right here. And a lot of people would be like, all right, yeah, you got Josh. Go ahead and fight that fight, right? But in my mind, I knew once the ball went up, I was like, okay, I cannot be messing around. And everyone's watching you push you to another level. So, I'm just thinking about everything you said, just talking about how, cultivating confidence from reading and being around the right people. And, those are lessons today. I tell myself, I don't mess with people that I think are going to bring me down.
Yep.
I don't do it, right?
Yep.
I am typically around people who are feeding me information because as I have those conversations, I'm thinking to myself, yep, I gotta start doing this. I gotta teach Rakim this. I gotta go talk to my mom about this. I want to take this back to work and share it with my staff. And so through being around the appropriate people or the people who I know will develop me, or i.e. other confident people, I'm taking some lessons out and growing folks. But also when I started thinking about myself, based on what you're saying, I started to say, I want to ask for you, like, how has building confidence impacted your personal and professional relationships and at the point of life where you at right now?
It's been huge, honestly. Like I said, knowing that I've put in the work and the effort is one thing. But I noticed a lot of times in my younger years and before I got to this point, I was a little more impatient, and I would listen to respond. And now I find myself listening to understand, because I know I'm confident enough in my own abilities that I don't have to have a response immediately. I can listen to understand and take in information and then formulate an informed decision. Like I said, as opposed to when I was younger, it was, while somebody else was talking, I'm thinking, I might not have been as well prepared. And I'm just thinking of how I can make a good response, or in all honesty, it was an excuse back then because I wasn't as prepared. And so being able to be confident in my own abilities has enabled me to just slow things down and, like I said, listen to understand.
Yeah. Listen to understand, in my occupation, I'm sure in your occupation as well, understanding what you're there for is of the utmost importance. Understanding why the lessons that you're learning, building up to the action, to the actual actioning thing is what matters, because we both are in different professions, but we're doing the same. We're helping people, right?
Yep.
And we have all of these things that we must do before we get to the pinnacle of our career, or i.e., we're in charge or leading a particular organization. And as we've been navigating through the ideal of confidence this whole time, and the things that we're like talking about in our lives or in our young adulthood or in our midlife or the scars and bruises that we have now, it all ties back into our ability to move forward. Because honestly, I remember Coach Waters told me one time, he says, everyone is not made out to be a leader because everyone's not listening to understand, which is odd that you said that, right? Everyone is not, doesn't have that metal within inside of them in order to say, hey, I got this, let me improve. But there can always be a leader who can help build confidence in others and get more out of them. Man, this conversation is going really well right now, but first we got to go to a quick commercial break, and we're going to go to this commercial break, and we're going to come back, and I want you to talk about how we're going to encourage other people to build confidence. So let's go to commercial break, and we'll be right back.
Hi, Joel Maurer, founder of Dink Ninjas. Dink Ninjas was dreamed up and started right here in Austin, Texas, a dynamic pickleball community. We arm pickleballers with the paddles, apparel, and accessories to dink like a ninja. Dink Ninjas is dedicated to supporting mental health awareness and cancer research. Shop our full lineup at dinkninjas.com.
We're back with Josh. So Josh, you know, we've been running through the gambit of a bunch of stuff. I feel like we can talk forever. But what I want to know is, like, in what ways do you encourage others to embrace their selves, man? How and build confidence? Like, you got to be yourself. You just have to be yourself because that's the person that you're the best at being, right?
Yeah.
But how do you tell someone, hey, be yourself, and this is how you build confidence?
But first off, establishing trust with somebody. So as a training officer, they have to know that I know what I'm talking about. But at the same time, enabling them to be free to ask questions and figure out some things on their own. Because when people fail, you have to encourage them to come back from that failure. But when they make it over that hurdle, that builds some confidence. You do that over and over again, and all of a sudden they start believing in themselves. And once it gets to that point, empowering somebody to make decisions. So like I said, when I'm training somebody, I share as much knowledge as I have. There is no carnal knowledge that is off limits, because I want us to be like-minded, and we have a goal in an emergency situation to do the most good that we can possibly do for as many patients as we have. And if I'm withholding, or if they don't trust me and they haven't gone through the steps to get confident in their abilities, then they're not going to be able to make the best decision. So empowering them and letting them fail, but also encouraging them to keep going is massive.
Okay, so yeah, good point. We're going back to trust. Confidence and trust are synonymous. It keeps popping back up. But even though we trust folks, and even though we're confident in ourselves, you know what we experience? Self-doubt. Self-doubt creeps up all the time. Even when I was at the top of my game and what I really thought I was good at, there were moments when I was like, I don't know if I can get this done. And I had to like will myself to success. I like literally had to like dig deep inside of me and look for that strength and say, how am I going to get it done? Instead of like, I'm not going to be able to get it done. So have you ever experienced that self-doubt? Like you just thought it couldn't get done, but somehow you made it to the other side of the mountain?
It's having an honest conversation with yourself, because there's points I've been down a lot with my injuries where I didn't think I was going to get back, or progress wasn't going as fast as I wanted it to. And being able to be honest with yourself and sit back and have this conversation and say, okay, where does this road end if I quit? Okay. Now, just in my personal example, let's say when I ruptured my bicep and wasn't able to pick up my son because he was only a couple weeks old. And I remember sitting there in the mirror and I'm like, man, I want to stop. I want to quit. I'm tired of rehabbing. I'm tired of these surgeries. I'm tired of having to go back to this well. I'm tired of having to dig deep. And then looking at myself in the mirror and realizing, okay, if I quit now, what kind of example am I going to be to my son? I'm not going to have those core memories with him where, he may be too young to remember these things, but I'm not going to be imprinting upon him and have these core memories for him. My wife is going to remember that I quit. I didn't help. I didn't step in. I didn't step up. And then how does that snowball effect start the avalanche of this downward spiral that we talk about, where it's just having that awkward conversation with yourself and being able to connect the dots of where this is going to end up if I quit.
Oh yeah, man. The urge to quit. Even the champions have it, but the champions don't succumb to it. So, yeah. And looking at that picture of you with all the surgeries that you had, but still looking at the things that you're doing right now and how you're pressing forward, and even though your body was beat up and tattered, you're still in an occupation that requires you to be physically fit, and you pushed to that, and you still there. So, that's honorable in my opinion. We're coming to the close of the show, and I want to put one last question out there. But before I put that last question out there, I want to plug your book again, right? So give the name of your book and what the book is about again before I ask you this last question.
It's we. It's a Dr. Seuss-esque story of the day after 9/11 and how the best part of us showed. And it's just a reminder of what we have in us. It's a quick read. It's kind of a no nonsense rhyme that reminds us of what our potential is as humanity, as a community, and that's about it. We give all the proceeds. I get nothing from it. We donate all the proceeds that we get to two nonprofits. One is the Chip Terry Fund, who it's a first responder wellness initiative, and the other one is Punk Rock Saves Lives. They are another. They tour around. They swab people to become bone marrow donors, and we give all the proceeds to them.
All right, that's all. That's extra awesome. So my question to you now is, as we wind down, I asked this last question. What message or insight would you share with people in midlife seeking to embark on their own journey of confidence?
Start. Keep moving. Surround yourself with the right people, and just be consistent. You ain't going to snap your fingers and all of a sudden, I'm a confident individual. It doesn't work like that. Man, I wish it did. I really wish it did. But it is just take small steps, build every day, celebrate your victories, acknowledge your defeats, and keep plugging.
All right, man. I appreciate your time today. I appreciate you sharing all those nuggets. I appreciate you telling us about our books. I appreciate you telling us about your family, how you overcome injuries to still become the person that you are today. I appreciate you being my friend. I just appreciate everything about what the world has brought to you and what you're giving back to the world. So is there any way, if somebody wanted to reach you, do you have a particular social account that somebody can reach out to and try to, maybe they just want to ask some questions. What do you got?
You can reach Burning River with no G on burning. It's a Cleveland reference. Burning River on Instagram. I'm pretty easy to get a hold of on there. I'm an open book. Honest to a fault, and if you ever need anything, I'm happy to help. So, and just want to say, I absolutely love you, man. You are one of my biggest influences and one of my best friends. I exactly. You mean the world to me. So I love seeing what you're doing out here.
Oh no, same goes for you, man. Hey, and everyone, this is CIME. That is Josh Kramer, and we hope you enjoyed the show today. And we out.